Ladies and gentlemen, welcome tonight to Sim Racer's Edge. We go from one historic track at the Milwaukee Mile last week to Sebring tonight. Folks, my name is Greg McConey. I'm joined in the booth right now by Wesley Outland. Our main producer, Frank Marchese, is on his way home right now. Real life work kind of took over for him tonight. But Wes, you're in the booth with me right now. I'm starting out the show, folks. We're going to have a little bit of a break here for just a couple of seconds here once Frank gets back and is able to get up and running. So don't worry if your screen goes black. Don't freak out too much, okay? Everything's going to be just fine. We're just jumping over between broadcasters and everything will be back to normal. Wes, you're up with me in the booth tonight right now. We're here at Sebring, man. How are you feeling for this race?
Yeah, Sebring is a fun racetrack, bud. 3.741 miles, 17 turns. Of course, you think of the 12 hours of Sebring. You think when the IndyCar Series races here. And, of course, ISMA runs here. American Le Mans Series has had some time or fortunes being able to run at this place. USF, Trans Am Series, GT World Challenge, IMSA WeatherTech, Sports Car Championship. You name it. There's so many historic sanctioning bodies that have ran at this. And, of course, for the virtual sim side of things tonight, for the Sim Racers Edge IndyCar Series, I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be fun. Strap in. Sebring is a very unique racetrack. It's got its own characteristics, and I think we're going to see some fun times here tonight.
Oh, for sure. This track is known for its long straightaways, tight corners. You're going to see a lot of hard battling, a lot of hard racing from these drivers. Right now, everybody's going through their qualifying sessions. So while this is going on, we'll give you all an update of what's going on. So Nate Siefker currently is your leader here tonight. In second place right now in qualifying is Butch Davis, Chad Simpson third, Jake Walsh fourth, and Chris Simard right now is in fifth place in qualifying at the moment. So as all of this is going on, yes, we know we had an incident last week where the broadcast cut out. We apologize for that. We had a technical difficulty. Since the race had already concluded and we'd already gone through most of the broadcast with last week's winner, Nate Siefker, we had to cut the stream. I'm afraid it was going to take us too long to get everything back up by the time we got through all of the interviews. So don't worry for those that wanted to hear Swearingen and Butch speak. We're going to pull them in during the warm-up, so we'll get them here any minute. So don't worry, hang tight. We're going to get them, don't you worry. But as qualifying is winding down right now, Nate Siefker still sits atop the board at a 149.5. Second place still Butch Davis. You see him here on screen. Chad Simpson in third on his third lap, or his final lap. Jake Walsh still in fourth at the moment. He's going to have a tow here, which is going to help him out significantly on these straightaways. And Wes, we talked before and said this track is known for its long straights. What is this draft going to do for these guys on those kind of straightaways?
Well, there's a lot of straightaways here at Sebring International, and one of the things that you're going to have to take advantage of is not overusing the push to pass. You got to know when you got to make your mark, when you got to make your move, and not, exhaust it. The straightaways, I think, are going to be a big advantage for a lot of these drivers if they don't make mistakes like that about running into the barrier. You got to know when to hit your mark. You got to know when to power your car. And it's all about watching the people around you. You want to have your teammates with you, that's great. But if you're stuck in the snakes patch, mind you, and you've got a lot of other competition around you, you got to have some give and take. Give and take on the straightaways, especially in the corners. And if whoever can do that perfectly will be the driver I think we'll talk with here in Victory Lane tonight.
Absolutely, Wes. Yeah, we're going to be fun. You talked about that push to pass. It's going to be huge for these guys here tonight. They only have 10. That's it. And you have to, like you said, you've got to use them sparingly. So whoever can time those perfectly is going to be in the best position. As we see right now, Lyle and Chad finishing up their laps right now, gaining whatever last little bit of practice they can before everything closes down and we jump into this warm-up session. But Wes, we have 45 laps here tonight, which is going to be a lot of a mental toll for these guys. We talk about their best laps are in the 1 minute 40-second range. This is going to be a long race, and it's going to be tough for these drivers. How are they going to have to handle this long mental load?
And by the way, another thing you got to think of is they're going to be green to checker. There's not going to be any time that we'll see a caution flag fly. So the mental stamina, as you mentioned, is now, I think they're coming back on track for their final warm-up session here before we do go green for 45 laps. It's going to be a grind for at least an hour and 15, 20 minutes. And the way you set yourselves up on this track is you want to give it all you got at the drop of the green, but you got to pace yourself. You've got to have that mental mindset in the cockpit simulator of these iVirtual rigs for these drivers. And to do that, you can't be aggressive. Like I said, patience is key here. And knowing that there's not going to be a caution flag, that is also something where you've got to keep your stamina. You don't want to wear yourself out here in the early going.
Absolutely, Wes. Now, we're going to try and pull up Lyle real quick, make sure he's good to go. And we'll try and get his interview in from last week. Lyle Swearingen, Greg McConey up in the booth, man. You got a minute?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, man, I know you're out qualifying right now, or not qualifying in your warm-up session. We didn't get a chance to talk to you last week after the race at the Milwaukee Mile. Tell us real quick how you thought that race went and how you were preparing for tonight's race here at Sebring.
Yeah, Milwaukee was challenging. Every time you get just about a second off the guy in front of you, it just seems like the dirty air just prevent you from really needing to grip off the corners there. So it was, if you had the clean air, you were the dominant driver. But no, it was great. Had a good battle there with Nate at the last restart. I knew I had to get by him on the restart if I had any sort of shot, and I was able to do it. But I left him too much room to race with, and he was able to get by me, which is all good. So we'll take a B2 finish there. As for this race here, just a lot of practice laps, a lot of laps. That's about all I can say. So we'll try to survive out there today.
Well, man, we wish you luck. We hate to cut this interview short. We're trying to keep you guys picked up within this warm-up session that you got going on. So go out there, turn a couple more laps, and good luck tonight.
Appreciate it. Have fun out there.
All right, Wes, that was Lyle. We're now going to pull up his teammate at FBR, Butch Davis. Butch Davis, Greg McConey up in the booth, man. How you doing? Hey, Butch, you there, man?
Yep, man, ready for this tussle at Sebring.
We didn't get a chance to talk to you last week. It's your third place finish at the Milwaukee Mile. Tell us real quick how you thought that race went, and how are you prepared for tonight, and do you feel ready to go to tackle this track?
Overall, for me, the race couldn't have gone much better. I'll gladly take a P3 at Milwaukee, not one of my favorite tracks. And I gained some points on Chad in the championship, so kind of a win-win for me. As for tonight, it's just all about kind of maintaining focus and keeping all four tires on the gray stuff tonight.
Absolutely, man. Well, I hate that we have to do this as such a short interview. I want to wish you luck. Go out there. Go do what you're doing right now. You've got the fastest lap. Well, you had the fastest lap. Simpson just beat you by a 0.03 seconds. So you still got time. Go out there. Good luck, and hopefully we're talking to you on the podium.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's have a good race tonight.
Sounds good. All right, folks. So here's what's going to happen. Right now, Frank Marchese is finishing getting himself set up. We are going to let this go to grid real quick here in about 10 seconds. I'm going to pull the grid info up, maybe if it decides it wants to cooperate. Maybe still. There it is. All right. We're going to run through this really quick, and then we're going to jump and switch to Frank, so he's going to get ready to go here. Starting out tonight on pole, Nate Siefker, Butch Davis on his outside. Chris Walker and Chad Simpson start out row 2. Jake Walsh and Chris Samard in row 3. Lyle Swearingen and Dan Brazington will be row 4. And rounding out the top 10 are Dan Brazington and Dan Inch, respectively. Dale Weiser is here tonight, and to his outside is Kevin O'Brien. Mark McFadden was the last car to make a qualifying attempt in 12th. 13th is Connor Nixon. 14th is Ronnie Osmer. And 15th was Jeffrey Bogan. Those drivers, as everything's now deciding to pop up, those drivers are your starting field here tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to cut out really quick. Hang tight. Don't worry. It's just us switching over broadcast, and we will be right back here for the Sim Racers Edge race at Sebring. I'm Greg McConey with Wesley Outland in the booth. Hang tight, folks. We'll see you in 1 minute.
Well, that was quick and painless, wasn't it, Greg? Thank you very much for opening the show. Frank, finally home, finally here, getting set to go here for tonight's race. Greg was kind enough to run through the grid here for you guys. We'll take a look right now at the weather conditions for today's race. Just a quarter after 10 a.m. on the 27th of October in sim time. Wesley, unseasonably hot, I would say, for the end of October. 81-degree ambient temperature, 87-degree track temperature. It's going to be a hot track here today at Sebring.
What do you mean? That's perfect weather conditions in Florida in October. I'm loving it. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be also crazy on the tires, though, for sure. We'll have to watch that.
Yeah, absolutely. As we are getting set to go, as Greg mentioned, 45 laps here tonight. Nate Siefker is going to be the man to beat here, and he has had the best run of luck so far. He has won the last 3 races that have come across the schedule, and this is the first time this series has made its way to Sebring. I'm sure, Greg, that he is going to be looking to take this one home tonight.
Absolutely. Nate came in here as one of the most dominant road course guys. So if this is with this being their first time here, I should say, he's going to want to make a name for himself and make sure that whenever they say Sebring, they say previous race winner Nate Siefker of Sebring.
Absolutely, as we are getting set to go, coming down the long final straightaway here at Sebring, and that was one thing I definitely forgot to do, which was to shut off steam. So you might see a couple of things pop up in the bottom corner of the screen. Exactly right. So Nate Siefker, the hottest driver on circuit right now. Butch Davis lining up to his inside, your current points leader. The field is rather split as far as which tire to run. The top 4 have elected to run the red wall option tire. As we head now through the final corner, the last sweeper, Sunset Bend, here at Sebring, getting set to go racing for the first time here for Sim Racers Edge. Here at Sebring, we are green. Off into turn 1, looking quite solid are these guys. Nobody really running wide. We got a couple of tires dipped off in the grass. Butch Davis looking for position coming through turn number 2. Working their way through the first winding section of this racetrack as they head off towards the hairpin.
Into the hairpin Frank. Nate Siefker is your leader. Butch Davis, Chris Walker, and Chad Simpson, top 4, all bunched together here going down this straightaway. This is a little windy straightaway, Frank, so they're going to have to keep that in mind into a hard right-hander here at turn 10. Nate Siefker, no change here in your top 5 as Siefker hooks this left back into a short little right, going down into turn 13, where we're going to pass it off to Wes for this backstretch.
Tower view, the field works their way, single file right now, only the top 2 cars nestled by about 2 car lengths as they settle their way from tower turn into turn number 14, where there's a little arc there at the Bishop. Bishop will turn to turn 14 into turn 15 and 16 as the leader, Siefker, goes a little bit off course. Turn 15, 16, down the straightaway, down to Omen Straight as there's a pass for the lead. Butch Davis looking to lead lap number 1 in the final corner.
Both Butch Davis and Nate Siefker using push to pass, coming off of that turn 16 onto the long straightaway. Somebody going really wide. That was Chris Walker through the final corner. Butch Davis will lead the first lap away after a little bit of a mistake by Nate Siefker going on to the long straightaway. Chad Simpson's used 2 push to passes in the final bit of track there. Butch Davis, Nate Siefker, Chad Simpson, Jake Walsh, Chris Walker, as Davis now with a mistake getting towards the tight bits in the first sector. A wiggle from Nate Siefker. Siefker had a chance and just lost it with a mistake of his own as they head to the hairpin.
Coming into the hairpin, Frank, it's Butch Davis still out front right now. He's got Nate Siefker all over his back end as they go winding down this short stretch here. Both guys have each used, like you said, 1 push to pass. Chad Simpson in third has used 2. It's going to be interesting tonight to see how these guys are able to use those as we see Siefker make a deep dive to try and get underneath Davis, back into the left, into the short right-handed straight, back tower 13, back to turn 13, the tower turn, where West takes him down.
Yeah, it's Butch Davis still out in front by about 2 car lengths. Siefker in second. Simpson 2 car lengths back to third as they work their way back off the tower view to Bishop onto 14. Butch Davis, strong run. Everyone else single file in the opening laps here at Sebring. Davis hits his marks perfectly, working back off to Lamont, turn 15 and 16, powers his way down the Omen straightaway. He is the man that is in the front right now. Siefker, Simpson trailing behind as they work their way off the corner.
There was an incident on that last lap during the second sector. Ronnie Osmer had gone off. We'll take a look at this. This was on the very first lap of the race. Osmer in turn 1 going off wide. After that, this was on this previous lap here. Dan Inch, Kevin O'Brien, Dan Brazington getting into it a little bit, headed towards the hairpin. There's the 52 of Inch, Kevin O'Brien, and Brazington right behind. O'Brien got into the hairpin quite hot, knocks the rear wing of the 52 off, knocks the front wing of his own car off, and Brazington had a little bit of an off just trying to get around, but other than that, still a very tight race for the lead.
Oh, hold on, my stuff's not acting up. Now we're good. While all that's going on, still no change up in your top 4, top 6 actually, are all the same with Butch Davis, Simpson, Walsh, Walker, and Swearingen. Right now, these guys are all just enjoying the single file right now, and they're really playing the fuel mileage game going down this back straightaway, Wes.
Yeah, making their way again off of that tower view to 13. Butch Davis comfortably out in front. Siefker there in that number 2 position, willing him in by about 2 car lengths. Of course, coming off of that win at the Milwaukee Mile 2 weeks ago before the Thanksgiving break. By the way, hopefully everybody that's watching had a great Thanksgiving holiday and are ready for the Christmas season as it is officially 24 days to Christmas. Down the Omen straightaway. Davis, Siefker, Simpson, top 3, and they work in the corner.
Yep. Butch Davis starting to get about a half a second gap here, so he is starting to work his way away from Nate Siefker. They've both got a 1.1 second gap over Chad Simpson. Butch Davis just put down the fastest lap of the race, only to be beaten out by Nate Siefker by 5/100ths of a second, a 42.6 for both drivers, a minute 42.6 for both drivers. Davis a 6.6, Siefker a 6.1, and you saw it earlier on. We were on board with Butch Davis just how much better Nate Siefker is getting into the braking zone, and there's one big one coming up here.
Nate Siefker takes a wide swing, thinks about trying to take the dive on Butch Davis, doesn't end up doing it, going into the hairpin, but they're going to go down the straightaway. Siefker's going to have another shot to make this dive bomb, but right now, as we see these guys come through this little left hand kink back into this hard right-hander, nobody's making that move right now. Everybody's still just kind of minding their P's and Q's, riding single file behind Butch Davis coming into the tower turn.
And you got to remember, there's only 10 push to passes allowed in this 45-lap event. Use them accordingly, but you got to use them wisely. All the while, Butch Davis, I don't think has used them at all, except maybe once. He sits comfortably in the number 1 spot. He's got a nice difference between him and Siefker in second. Simpson is about 2 car lengths back to third, and as they work their way back down the Ullman straightaway, it is nobody yet given any mounting charge on Davis as he works turn 17.
Davis had a very good middle sector of that racetrack. One close battle here is Jake Walsh sitting quite close to Chad Simpson. The top 4 are separated by about a half a second each, as Walsh starting to walk away from Chris Walker. Lyle Swearingen a second and a half behind Walker. Chris Simard and Ronnie Osmer are close behind as well. Dale Weiser running by himself, as is Mark McFadden, Kevin O'Brien, Dan Inch, and Dan Brazington. Worth noting, Jeffrey Bogan and Connor Nixon did not start this race. As we work towards the hairpin here on lap 5 of 45, Siefker taking another peek again.
Yeah, as they go down into that right-hand hairpin, back up front, these guys still just single file in your top 4, Frank. But like you said, that gap between Walsh and Walker is growing significantly. We hear these Reds are very, they give up a lot after the first few laps, a kind way to put it. So it'll be interesting to see if, like, Chris Simard back in 8th right now is your first driver on the primary tires. It'll be interesting to see what he does as they're going down the backstretch now, Wes.
Yeah, they're working their way back towards me, and there's really no change of anything off the tower end. Davis is still up in comfortable position, but it does look like Nate Siefker trying to reel him in just a little bit. Simpson and Walsh now starting to have a little battle amongst themselves for 3rd and 4th. Put Chris Walker in the top 5. That's the way they stand as we about put lap 5 on the board.
Yep, a little bit of an Indy snake in Florida here, as Butch Davis does use the push to pass down the straightaway there. And to Greg's point, top 7 drivers currently are on the red wall option tire, as Chris Simard, as Greg mentioned, on the black prime tire. Dale Weiser on that tire as well. McFadden and Dan Inch on the black wall tire. Cars behind, especially Jake Walsh, the one getting furthest out of shape in turn 1. As Siefker really keeping Butch Davis honest here, still very close. Not quite as close as he's been a couple of laps prior, but very, very close to the back end at 43. He's really making a move this time.
Simpson makes a dive to the inside. He gets inside of Davis through the hairpin. They're side by side as Siefker just squeals himself ahead as they go into this short little chicane back here. We watch Siefker hold that. Butch Davis gets to his outside. Not close enough to make it into this right-hander. He's not going to have position back through this left, but we'll see if he makes the dive here going into the tower turn 13.
Yeah, 40 laps to go when they come back to the line, and again, no change in this position except for Nate Siefker getting around Butch Davis. That is going on now for position. Nate Siefker hitting his marks perfectly through the Bishop turn, heading to Le Mans, 15 and 16. A strong run as he arcs through that corner. He'll now make his way back to the straightaway. And again, Frank, what a great early run by these top 2 drivers. And honestly, you got to think these are the 2 for the championship, as here comes Davis powering back on the outside looking for the lead.
Yep, Davis using a push to pass down that straightaway, pushing Nate Siefker out wide right up against the cones. So Butch Davis may have lost the lead, but only lost it for a little bit. Siefker, though, right back on him. Dead heat at the start-finish line. Incredible run from these 2 so far. Davis knows he needs to keep Siefker at bay if he wants a chance at winning this race. But going side by side into turn 3 right now and staying side by side, the track will fall Siefker's way, but immediately come back to Butch Davis's way. Arching, they end up hitting side by side. This has all allowed Walsh and Simpson right back into the fight as Davis clears Siefker going into the hairpin.
Butch Davis takes a defensive right-hand position going into the hairpin. He's going to force Siefker wide. That's going to allow Simpson to get to the inside. He lets Siefker get back to that third position. Now Simpson's under fire from Walsh as they go into this sharp right-hand corner. That is turn 11, back into the left-handed 12. Back to another short right. These top 4 have squared themselves back out, but they are right on each other's bumper, Wes.
Well, they were 2 by 2 like Noah leading the animals to the virtual arc a moment ago. Now they fan back out single file. For a second there, Frank, it looked like rush hour in California for you just after 5 o'clock. But right now, single file, Davis gets back around Siefker. Simpson now and Walsh trying to run those cars down as they work their way back down the Ullman straightaway.
That analogy hit a little bit too close to home, a little bit too recently. Oh, around in the back, there's 2 cars. That's Ronnie Osmer that went around. I believe Dale Weiser might have, not Weiser, may have been submarred from what I'm seeing here. But you can see Ronnie Osmer has that car way whacked out. That car has been knocked around. He hit that inside wall pretty good. And unfortunately for Osmer, now he's going to spin it through the final corner. Here's what happened with the driver of the 55.
That was Simard, Frank, who got caught up in that. Now, luckily for him, he did go through the grass, so he shouldn't have too much damage.
Ooh.
But that was a hard hit for Osmer, yes.
That was very close there between those two. Nate Siefker using a push to pass just to try to get back up close to just try to get back close up to Butch Davis, pardon me, as they head now into the second sector.
Yeah, Frank, they've now both Simpson and Siefker has used a push to pass. Now, Frank, we talk about Simpson being Mr. Fuel Save, Mr. Where did that fuel come from? He has used push to pass, which he has not done in his previous road course races. So I don't know if he's found something here where he's able to save more fuel some other way, but certainly riding down these straightaways in the pack, Wes, is helping him with that.
Yeah, we're definitely going to keep an eye on that with Siefker. And obviously you think of also trying to save fuel. The leader obviously up in front of clean air, but if there's a guy like Siefker or Simpson that is behind the leader of Davis, if they could just ride and drive, if you will, pardon the pun on that analogy because that's not the purpose of the case, but if you can just be comfortable, you can also try to save fuel if you're in the back behind the leaders also, Frank.
Yep, you can definitely do that. And also for Simpson, he was looking untouchable at the beginning of this season. Remember, won the first 2 races, looked very dominant in those 2 races. He hasn't won. I believe he's only won 1 race since then. Looking through, he won back at Atlanta. That's his only other win, and now starting to lose control of that points battle. So maybe Simpson, after his last 2 attempts at trying to work a fuel-saving strategy to pit 1 less time than everyone else is blown up in his face, now might be saying, you know what, I got to start thinking of the championship here and not how to outsmart these guys. I got to beat them with my speed instead of my brain.
Absolutely, Frank. And Sally, I see your comment in the YouTube. The reason we are saying October, because that is the date in sim. We know it's December for everybody here, but it's October in the sim, which is why we're saying October. Just so you know.
The reason why the sim only for tracks north of the equator, the sim only allows you to run at tracks like this between the months of March and October. So you can't have like a December race at Daytona. It's going to have to be between February and October.
No matter how bad we want it. But Wes, they're on the back stretch now.
Yeah, they certainly are, and they kind of calmed down here for a little bit. Butch Davis still up in the top spot. back where he belonged in P1. Nate Siefker gave him a charge about 3 laps ago, but for the most part, now they've all calmed down. A nice battle when they finally hooked up with one another. Siefker now goes to the outside. Looks like he was going to go off track as they come back to the line.
Yep, Nate Siefker holding station right there. Jake Walsh trying to catch back up to the front trio, using a push to pass down the front straightaway into the sweeper of turn number 1. Just put down the fastest iRacing first sector of the race here. Davis, once again, started to lose a little bit of ground to Nate.
And Frank, we had a crash with Chris Samard. I'm going back and looking at it right now. He has towed that car back to the pits. Ooh, just happened coming off of turn 17, right in front of the pit stalls.
He caught a lot of those bumps in that
Yeah,
last
he did.
turn.
Hate to see that happen to Samard. He did have that little incident earlier on, but hopefully he's able to get that thing picked back up, fixed up, and be able to make a few more positions on track as the leaders are going back through turn 13 now.
They are, and it's still Davis out in front. Siefker, though, trying somehow going inside, outside, snaking to reel him in, and he can't get him there yet. Simpson right there behind him in third. Everybody is comfortable in their spots. Got to be thinking also, Frank, as they work their way back down the Oldman straightaway. Pit stops should be coming up about the next 5 laps or so as well.
You read my mind. They are getting very, very close towards the pit stop cycle. Looking through, trying to find it. There we are. There are our race notes. Fuel stint between 10 and 12 laps. So this is about the time, if Nate Siefker or if Chad Simpson have anything left in those option red tires, they're going to have to use it now. Get all of the goodie in life out of those tires before coming in and taking them off. Both of those guys really pushing wide coming out of the final corner. Siefker still very, very good here in this first sector, just not able to get close enough to try to make a pass.
No, he's not. He's gotten close a few times, like you said, Frank, but he's just a hair too far back as he tries to make a dive here into the hairpin turn 7. Wasn't close enough, but as they go down this winding turn 8, back down through the short stretch, down through the straightaway of turn 9. Right now, it's still Butch and Nate Siefker out front. It'll be interesting to see who's going to be the first to come in, because even though they talked about these reds being the preferred tire but having a fall off of a couple seconds, your top drivers now, I think your top 6 are still on the drivers on the alternate, and your first primary tire driver is Dale Weiser back in 7th.
Davis still out in front. We're thinking about this strategy with the tires, and Frank, to elaborate more on that, obviously you got the tires that is your regular set of Firestone Firehawks, and then you've got the red wall tires. The red wall tires is going to let you fire faster. You're going to come up to speed quicker, but also one of the negatives of it, you're going to use up your tires quicker too.
Yep, absolutely. And as we see Butch Davis, he's going to come into the pits. Nate Siefker is going to follow him in. So pit stops have begun. Chad Simpson and Jake Walsh staying out. Chris Walker, a part of Voodoo Racing as well, has decided to come down pit road. So 3 of the top 5 have made it down pit road. Lyle Swearingen decides to stay out. So we've only got about a dozen or so cars running right now. Chad Simpson up at the front of this field as pit stops have begun.
Absolutely, Frank. And watching Jake Walsh on that last lap, he is slinging the rear end of that car around. That thing was sideways coming through the Le Mans turns last lap. We'll see if he does it again this lap. But right now, Chad Simpson out to a comfortable lead of almost 2 seconds. He's doing a nice job. He was able to keep pace with the 2 leaders of Siefker and Davis, so he may have had a little better tire save. Maybe that's going to give him an extra 2 laps. We'll find out, Wes, as he goes through turn 13.
Yeah, and now Chad Simpson's going to be able to show his strengths or weaknesses of being in the P1 position. Right now, his car looks very, very strong. Jake Walsh now falls back about 2.5 seconds to Simpson. Swearingen, as we mentioned on the podium in the race at Milwaukee Mile, sitting now to third. Weiser and Davis and Siefker now, top 5, as they make their pit stops as they work their way to turn 16 and 17.
Chad Simpson down the long Ullman straightaway into the final bend. Simpson, will he come into pit road? Yes, he will. Tight exit there out of that corner. Jake Walsh will follow him through. This will hand the lead of the race momentarily, at least, to Lyle Swearingen, unless he decides to come into pit road. Dale Weiser is on the prime Blackwall tire, so he will come down pit road as well. So wipes out the tire advantage there. So here is the battle for the race lead. Butch Davis and Nate Siefker need to switch to that prime tire at some point during this race, Greg. Not going to be now, as here they go, back to the race lead.
No, both drivers, Frank, like you said, are on the alternate tire, which we've seen hasn't fallen off as much as I think people expected it to. So it'll be interesting to see late race what they're able to do. I'm trying to put together right now in my head what their fuel strategy is going to be and what their last stint's going to look like. Because my thought is either the last stint or the second to last stint are going to be their black tires. We see Siefker make a dive to the inside into the hairpin. Does a great job getting ahead of Butch Davis. Butch didn't put up too much of a fight there. So now we'll see Butch Davis get behind Siefker, ride as they go down through this turn 9 straight away, and Butch Davis looks inside, not close enough to make the move into turn 10, through turn 11 Collier into turn 12 here, and as they come into turn 13, Wes, it's Nate Siefker out front this time.
Yeah, pretty heated battle there as they were battling side by side. Now they fan back out single file. Nate Siefker back to the point. Davis now settles into the number 2 spot. They work their way to 13 and 14, working around this little arc in the corner. And again, Davis, though, losing ground on Siefker, it looks like. Davis is now on the offensive. The defensive is not working in Davis's favor right now. And again, there's still a long way to go in this race as we only come up on lap 13 as Davis makes a move to the lead into turn 1.
These two, we talk about these guys wanting to kind of just relax and chill out and ride, and guys not really waiting. We saw at Indianapolis, Butch Davis did not use a push to pass at all until that final stint. Both Siefker and Davis popped a push to pass down that long straightaway. Siefker has 5. Davis has 6 left. So the pressure of coming down to the end of the season and the fight for this championship is really starting to take hold, especially for the guys in the top 2.
Absolutely, Frank. And while all this is happening, we'll update you guys that Chad Simpson is riding about 4 seconds behind. So that extra lap he ran cost him about 3.5 seconds. But he has switched to the primary tire as of now. So Chad Simpson has made the one switch he needs to do. He is good to go for the rest of the race. Up front, Nate Siefker has pulled out to about 3/4 of a second now over Butch Davis, coming back into turn 12. And as they turn into turn 13, Wes, we've got a second lead or so for Siefker.
Yeah, it is Nate Siefker now continuing to stay in that top spot. Butch Davis gave him a, if you will, proverbial run for the money. That now goes for naught as he now settles in for second. Chad Simpson, by the way, 5 seconds, under 5 seconds back in third. Walsh and Walker right there with one another. 5-8 seconds the differential for those drivers as it's all clear selling right now for Nate Siefker. He leads the way down the Ullman straight to turn 17.
We're seeing Chris Walker on screen right now. Walker, that last time around, set the fastest lap of the race at a 1:42.16. Nate Siefker set a 1:42.17 the lap prior to this. Davis only managed a 42.6. Nate Siefker, that lap, exactly a second faster than Butch Davis, a 42.09 to a 43.09. So that one is really on his game as Jake Walsh and Chad Simpson get very close with each other going through 3, 4, and 5.
Absolutely, Frank. And this is your closest battle right now on track is between Simpson and Walsh as they come down through this short stretch coming out of turn 6. The leaders up ahead, spread out by about a second and a half right now. This battle right now, Simpson and Walsh separated by 0.3 of a second. Simpson doing a great job right now. Walsh is on the alternate tire as they come through turn 8, going down the straightaway into turn number 10. These guys doing a fantastic job. I'm going to want to see how well this battle stays between these two of Simpson and Walsh and see if that tire is going to really make any difference as this run goes on.
Yeah, this battle heating up now, best on the track, if you will, for third and fourth as, we just been reiterated on, and we continue to watch this now because honestly, Siefker and Davis in their own world in 1 and 2. There's no competition right now between those cars, but this battle for third, very heated. 1 lap, Walsh to the inside, makes a move, can't run down Simpson. Simpson now keeps it straight. There you see also Chris Walker pop out of view down the Ullman straightaway. He's in the top 5 as they go back to 17.
We're riding on board there with Jake Walsh. He was on the button. He had the push to pass button in that last time down the straightaway, and that will help Jake Walsh take that third position as we work lap 16 of 45, 1/3 distance gone here at Sebring. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. You are watching round number 12 action from the Sebring International Speedway. Nate Siefker out in front here in South Florida.
Are you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn why the best use VRS. To win in sim racing, you have to know when to send it. So pay attention. This means it's time for everyone to send it. This flag means someone sent it too hard, and now we all have to slow down. This means someone sent it so hard, we all have to go back to the pits and wait for the track to be cleared. And we don't get to send it again until we see this flag. This flag means you haven't been sending it hard enough and now need to get out of the way. When you see this flag, it's your last chance to send it. And when you see this flag, if you sent it the best, you get to do this. And remember, if you're gonna send it the best with VRS.
First run of pit stops has completed here at round number 12 for the Sim Racer's Edge Season 5 here at Sebring International Raceway. Butch Davis led the first 11 laps of this event. Nate Siefker getting out to the race lead after a very good battle between himself and the 43 during the pit cycle. Jake Walsh, we saw him make a pass on his option red tire just before we went to break. However, Chad Simpson's prime black wall tire starting to work its way back into the fold. Chris Walker had the fastest lap of the race for a little bit there, currently running by himself on an island in 5th. But right now, Wesley, it is Nate Siefker's show on a road course once again.
Yeah, Nate Siefker definitely just doing exactly what he needs to do, being very, very patient and sitting in there holding his marks as he crosses the line. Strong run there. Butch Davis losing ground on him. And I remember you were talking about the tire situation. I wonder if this is coming to fruition, and I think they're halfway left on push to pass also.
They are, Wes. These guys right now are having Siefker sitting with 5 push to pass remaining, and Butch Davis at 6. So it's going to be interesting to see as this race winds down if these guys get back near each other. Currently, Butch Davis has the advantage in push to pass. So I'm excited to see. I'm hoping they get back together. We're going to wait and see what happens. As right now, Jake Walsh and Chris Simard are your closest battle on track, separated by about half a second at the moment. They're currently about 8 seconds back from Siefker right now, as we see Walsh and Simpson having a nice little battle of their own. We talked previously, Frank, about the red and black wall tires and the advantage that the red gives you to fire off. But it looks like once you get through that about 5-lap run, when we saw Walsh take the lead over Simpson, they've kind of evened back out.
Yeah, Wesley, it has appeared to have been that way, and Simpson started to close the gap back in.
Yeah, it certainly is right now as, again, we'll watch this battle heating up here as Simpson and Walsh continue to go at it. That's about the best battle on the racetrack. Remember, Siefker, the leader. Davis is 3 seconds back to the leader of Siefker. So right now, Walsh and Simpson having this little battle amongst themselves here in the top 3. And by the way, we're probably about less than 10 laps away to second round green flag pit stops also.
Yep, pit stops should be coming up here fairly soon as we ride on board through the final corner with Jake Walsh. See that car bouncing all the way. Now, because of the discombobulated start to this race, we didn't get a chance to bring you the point standings coming into this race. As Butch Davis, sorry, the graphics glitching on me here a little bit. Butch Davis currently leading the championship by 14 points coming into this race over Chad Simpson. Nate Siefker still does have a little bit of ways to go. He's won 4 races this season. He's won the last 3. However, he has had a bad string of races to start this season, still trying to make up for it. He's finally jumped over Bentley Glazer to get up into 3rd place in the point standings. As Wesley, we head down towards Tower with Nate right now. Nate has not lost a championship he has competed in. He's competed in seasons 1, 2, and 4, won the championship in all 3.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Nate Siefker right now, the cat's pajamas, if you will. No insult to injury on that comment, because he's really been dominant. He's done really, really well. He picked up the win, obviously, at Milwaukee Mile. Never count out Nate Siefker. The cliche one tough customer comes to mind as you watch him right now with his teammate, Butch Davis, behind him. And again, we saw in the early going, Frank, they are not afraid to bump and bang and battle amongst themselves. It's been a really good race here so far.
Yep, absolutely. As we see Jake Walsh once again trying to fend away from Chad Simpson going into that final corner and down the front straightaway again. Still the closest battle on track is between these 2 drivers, and one advantage that Chad Simpson has over the 4 drivers he's been racing around, Greg, is that he has done the switch over to the prime tire. He has not done both of his stints on the alternates. The other drivers in the top 4 have. Chris Walker has also switched over. Lyle Swearingen, pardon me, has also switched over. Dale Weiser has to go the other way. He has to switch to the options.
Yeah, which is a little interesting to me. I thought Weiser would have gone from the primary to the alternate already. But like you said, Simpson, I'm loving that Simpson's getting his blacks out of the way now. Before you hit the halfway point, you're going to have plenty of time to make your way back. So we're going to wait and see what happens. And like we said, there's that little, probably 3 or 4 lap segment as we see Simpson really hounding Walsh right now going into turn 13. You have that few lap segment where the reds really fall off very quickly and the black takes over. But I don't know. The black doesn't fall off, it seems, much as this run goes long.
Watching them now closing back all around. This battle continue for 3rd and 4th as, again, Walsh and Simpson right now. That's about the best battle we see on track. Siefker in the lead. You got to think probably within the next 2 laps or less, we're going to see them pill onto pit road. We're also closing in on halfway, Frank, as they work back your way.
Yep, we are getting quite close. This would make this a 3-stop race as Chad Simpson going down towards turn 1, looking for that 3rd position back as the options are starting to really fall off here at the end of this run. Chad Simpson has been able to make the prime tire work. Harder compound. They take a little bit longer to get up to pace, but they last quite a significant amount longer than the red walled option tires. Simpson has been able to use that length to his advantage.
Absolutely, Frank. And we talk about Simpson being the key and the master of the fuel strategy. I'm wondering if this was his fuel strategy play. Wait now, get into this second segment and use the fuel strategy on the primary tire that seems to run longer and use this to his advantage to gain back some time.
Watching them working their way back around the tower view. Again, what a nice run by Nate Siefker, but this is this battle we saw heating up for 3rd and 4th. Simpson now has the opportunity to lead that cavalry. He sits in about 11 seconds back, though, to the leader. Walsh is also right there with them also. Walker in the top 5. He is now 10 seconds back to these guys that are battling amongst themselves for 3rd and 4th as they work their way to turn 17. There's Walker in the top 5. And again, we're thinking pit stops. We'll bunch them all back up together here in just a moment. It's a matter of who comes in as the leaders are in now.
Yep, leaders are in. Just as you were saying that, Nate Siefker, Butch Davis, Jake Walsh, the same 3 that came in the first time around are in once again. Chad Simpson will go out another lap as Siefker gets into the box. So does Butch Davis. They both look to have gotten through clean. Chris Walker extends his pit stint 1 more lap this time. And compared to the first stint, these guys went a lap shorter. Jake Walsh actually went 2 laps shorter in the 33. So, and once again, Siefker out on the reds. Butch Davis goes to the primes. So Davis, he's going to have to stop again for fuel, but he can run. He is good to the regulations on the tires.
Frank, I think we might be seeing that little glitch we talked on before, because SDK has Siefker and Davis on the black primary.
No, visually,
at least for me,
Siefker's
visually
on the red.
I see the reds.
Yep,
yeah,
Siefker's on the reds. Davis is on the blacks.
So I'm gonna go with that then. Yeah, you're probably right. Anyway, yeah, you talk about it, but right now, Frank, they can make it on 1 more stop. If they short pitted, that means they'll have a little bit extra fuel. And we talk about Siefker coming out. Frank, who's ahead of both of them? Chris Walker. Walker has not pitted yet. He's done a great job right now. We saw him run a little bit long previously. Actually, no, I lied. He pitted on lap 11.
Yep, he pit with Siefker and Davis, and then Walsh and Simpson went the extra lap.
You're right. As Simpson comes in right now, We're going to see what Walker does. Simpson did run that extra lap. We'll see how much. Last time he lost, was it 5 seconds, if I remember correctly? We're going to take a look and see what happens here as the leaders are coming through turn 17 now.
Yeah, we got pit stops going on, guys. Looks like the leader, Chad Simpson, coming in. Of course, Chris Walker onto the pit lane. These are drivers that were 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Nate Siefker and Butch Davis, though, Frank, come right back out, 1 and 2 again. Closing in on halfway.
Yep, about the same distance between the two as well as Nate Siefker heading through turn 4 right now. Davis getting turn 5, pardon me. Heading through turn 5 now is Davis. As Simpson getting out into traffic behind Mark McFadden, Lyle Swearingen there as well. Simpson has gone back to the option tire, the red wall tire. Just a couple of housekeeping things to get to. This was back on lap 17 with Kevin O'Brien. He had a little bit of a moment heading into the hairpin. He had outbroke himself going into the hairpin on lap 1. Looks as though he's going to oh no, he just barely kept it on track this time around. And Lyle Swearingen back on lap 21 had a problem getting back onto the runway, heading through the Le Mans corners. Just up on the curb and around it went, which is why Swearingen's a little bit further back than where he was before. He has not come in to make his second stop yet. 2 retirees, Chris Simard and Ronnie Osmer, done for the day. Jeffrey Bogan and Connor Nixon there, Wesley, did not start this race.
Yeah, it's disappointing to only have 13 drivers take the green, but for the most part, this has been a really, really good race. I mean, we've saw some exciting moments. We really haven't seen anything be kind of single file, if you will. These drivers, when they go to the battle, when they get side by side, especially off of pit stops, they really, really compete side by side like Siefker and Davis have. Simpson and Walsh also, don't count them out, as Swearingen is on the pit lane now. But again, this has been a comfortable race for sure.
It sure has, Wes, as these guys are coming through, as the leaders are coming through the hairpin right now. We've got about a 3-second gap between Butch Davis and Siefker. So during that pit stop, Butch Davis was able to shrink that time back down. And I will bring it up and mention it right now. That advantage that Butch Davis had on the push to pass is gone. Wes, as they get ready to come through 12, going into 13, the straightaways are there. I don't see a push to pass happening right now, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't really think you need to use push to pass right now, but you're on your own world right now, no man's land around you. You need to just kind of ride and bide your time. Nate Siefker, I think, is doing just that. He's got about a nice 3.5-second lead over Butch Davis. Butch Davis not even anywhere in sight right now as we see Siefker hitting his marks, working around turn number 14 and 15, off of turn 16, back to the Ullman straightaway. There you see Siefker. There you see Davis. There's the interval. And again, push to pass, I would save it for about 10 to go if you need to use it to try to run him down there, Frank.
Absolutely. As Dan Brazington just coming off of pit road for his 4th pit stop of the day. In the number 29, as Nate Siefker leads the way, Butch Davis in second by 3.5 seconds. Chad Simpson 5 3/4 seconds behind. Now, Siefker is the only driver in the top 4 right now that is not good to the regulations. He has run all 3 of his stints thus far on the red wall option tire. Butch Davis is on the primes now. He just switched. Chad Simpson has run 1, and now back to the options. Walsh on the primes right now as they head to the hairpin.
Yes, Frank, and that'll be interesting because that means Siefker has to run that last stint on the primary tire, which we've seen has been able to hold up over the long run, but we're going to have to wait and see what he can do on the short run against Butch Davis, who will be back on those alternate tires, we would think, for that last segment as they're down the backstretch now, Wes.
Yeah, it's, again, everybody just kind of riding and driving right now. I don't want to take away the fact that they're racing because they are racing, but no competition in sight for Nate Siefker. You see the nice interval he has, almost 3.59 seconds, 3.70 at one time, and he's trying to reel him back in. And the little slip there by Butch Davis allows him to lose ground. And again, just patiently waiting, pitting, money stop coming up. I think that's when we'll really see the aggression pick up there, Frank. But again, he's got to try to find a way to stay in arm's length of Siefker also.
Yep, certainly does. Both Siefker and Davis have 5 push-to-passes remaining. Chad Simpson just used one, so he's down to 6. Jake Walsh has the fewest left in this race. He is at 3 push-to-passes left. Both Chris Walker, Lyle Swearingen, Dan Brasington as well, have not used their push-to-pass. And that spin that we saw Kevin O'Brien have a little bit earlier, that has put him out of the race.
Yeah, that makes 3 retirees so far. 2 did not start. Right now, the only cars 1 lap down are Mark McFadden and Dan Inch. Both out there.
Sorry to cut you off there. Siefker had a mistake. He went a little bit too hot going into the hairpin, almost came to a stop to keep it on the racetrack. That has brought Butch Davis from 4 seconds back to just inside of 2 seconds back, Wesley, as we head towards Tower.
Yeah, Tower View, and again, we're watching that take place, but still Nate Siefker out in front. He's got that nice, comfortable lead, but Butch Davis, though, don't count him out, Frank. He is running him down like bait on a hook, reeling him in. Yep. He is closing in 2 seconds. It has just been closed in the last, lap and a half from 4 seconds to cut the half. He is trying somehow, some way to run down Siefker, and I got to think also in the process, Frank, push to pass is also being done.
And even after through that third sector there, Davis gained another 0.4 of a second, so he has found a new lease on life. Davis is again on the prime tire, so he's going to be a little bit faster as this run goes on. And Greg, it'll be interesting to see whether or not he knows that Siefker is going to have to go to the prime tire for the final stint of the race. Does Butch maybe try to counter the fact that his tires are going to fall off and run a second stint on the primes, or does he go to the reds to try to make a last-ditch effort to try to catch up to that ace?
I don't know. I've been trying to think about that, Frank. But like you said, we're now in that little interval where we saw it before between Walsh and Simpson, where the reds have started to fall off and the primaries are taking the advantage. And that's, I think, where he had so much extra speed in the high-speed corners coming through Le Mans and onto the backstretch, that's really going to be Davis's advantage. As we see Siefker right now coming through 13 into a straightaway, we'll see if Butch can close that even more.
Well, look at this right now. Nate Siefker out in front, as we've mentioned time and time again. And Frank, one of the things we've also saw now in the last lap, Butch Davis losing ground on Siefker. He's cut it to about another 2.5 seconds. It was at one time under 2 seconds. But he is in hindsight. He's in view. There's Simpson coming off of turn number 14 and 15 to 16. The top 3 on the straightaway as we approach lap 30.
You saw way up at the top of the screen there, Jake Walsh sliding off at turn 16, so he's going to lose a bunch of time, and you're right, Siefker gaining a full second on Butch Davis. I think if that gap would have stayed around the 2-second mark, Davis might have toyed with the idea of running another stint on the prime tire. However, I think now his hand is kind of forced. He's going to have to go to the option to try to close the distance and then hope he still has enough tire left to try to fend off Nate Siefker.
Well, Frank, the other thing to remember, too, is Chad Simpson is back on the alternate tire. He has closed back in on Siefker and Davis. He's only about 8 seconds now behind Siefker, and he's gaining on Butch Davis. He's about 4 3/4 back on him. But at one point, he was over 10 seconds back with Simpson. So now that Simpson's back on this alternate red, he's really starting to find some pace and close back in on these 2 leaders.
Guys, I make a prediction here. I really believe that when we get to the money stop, which I think will be coming up in less than 5 laps, you are going to see Siefker, Davis, Simpson, Walsh, and Walker, at least the top 5, all pit together, because they've got to be in sync with one another. This is the time, Frank, when you need to be in hindsight of the leaders if you're going to make a run for the win.
Absolutely, as we see Nate Siefker heading down the straightaway, a wide exit, but a good exit for Butch Davis as we head into the final corner, Sunset Curve. Pit stops are not quite upon us. However, a break is upon us now for us. We'll take a quick break. We are two-thirds distance gone, 15 laps to go here for round number 12 of the Sim Racers Edge Season 5 from Sebring.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers, including Peter Berryman, John Robertson, Brandon Trano, and IndyCar World Champion Alex Palou. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Are you new to sim racing, or maybe a veteran struggling to reach the next level? Have you ever wondered how the aliens reach impressive lap times that seem impossible to achieve? If so, you're not alone. Most drivers reach a certain level and get stuck. But getting faster on track is easier than you think. VRS coaches are some of the best sim racers in the world and offer one-on-one driver skills training at affordable rates to help new drivers learn the basics and help experienced drivers break through to the next level. Are you ready to get faster and get off the iRating roller coaster? If so, VRS one-on-one personal training is for you. If you've invested in your equipment, it might be time to invest in yourself. Just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a 30, 60 or 90-minute session with one of our world-class coaches, and you'll learn exactly what to do for faster lap times and more podiums.
Round 12 action here for the Sim Racers Edge Series. Round number 12 from Sebring International Raceway, and things have gotten spicy here at Sebring just before we came back from break. Somebody had an off. It was the third place runner, Chad Simpson. Did the same exact thing Lyle Swearingen did earlier on in the race, but boy, he hit a ton, Wesley, on that inside wall.
Yeah, man, when we were on timeout, he literally just came by my broadcast position, slammed into the rumble strips on the inside of the racetrack, and once he lost control, smacked hard into the Armco barrier there on the outside of the racetrack here at Sebring. A lot of damage, a lot of toe-in, suspension, the wing, tires, all broken, battered. Chad Simpson's going to be out of this race at Sebring this afternoon.
Absolutely is. So now it will be pretty much left up between Nate Siefker and Butch Davis. Jake Walsh is about 13 and a half seconds now, almost 14 seconds behind the top pairing, as Siefker still leading the way. That will make Simpson the fourth retirement of the race here thus far. 9 drivers still left circulating this racetrack. Dan Inch and Mark McFadden are no longer on the lead lap. Jeffrey Bogan and Connor Nixon did not start this race, as Greg, we're only about a handful of laps away from what will be the final pit stop.
Yeah, absolutely, Frank. We heard and we've seen so far these guys are going about 10 to 12 laps. So we're still about a lap or two away from the end, from their final pit stop and the money stop, as we call it in racing. Right now, Siefker holding still about 5.5 seconds. That gap has grown from where Butch Davis was when he was under 2 seconds at one point. That gap is now grown to 5.7 as they're down the backstretch, Wes.
Yeah, Nate Siefker, you just see a little glimpse of him just a second ago. Nothing but the taillights, if you will. If this was a night race, is what Butch Davis would be seen from the tail of the lead car of Nate Siefker. Siefker now at almost 6 seconds, closing in on lap traffic. There you see now Davis poking his way off the corner, down the straightaway. And again, pit stops are looming. Money stop. Got to stay within hindsight of them, Frank, as we come off turn 17.
Absolutely. Nate Siefker about to lap Mark McFadden, that's who it is, for a second time. I've had a long day, guys. I'm sorry. McFadden now moving over, heading through turn 2 and on the way into the hard braking zone of turn 3. Butch Davis has really fallen back over these last couple of laps. He's down now 6.5 seconds off the race lead. And I think, Greg, possibly he doesn't want to lose ground to Nate, but right now he's mitigated that damage as much as he can by being in second place. Now that Simpson is done for the race, maybe he's decided to back off and say, you know what, second is about as good as I could possibly get tonight.
Yeah, potentially. It's definitely something that I'm sure has run through his mind once he heard Simpson had his off. But I'm also wondering, too, since this is the first time Butch has been on these black primary tires tonight, whether he may have burned up a rear tire more than he wanted to since he was so used to running these alternates. We'll have to wait and see, as right now Siefker is still holding about a 6 3/4 second lead, Wes.
Yeah, big lead now for Nate Siefker. And again, any time now, we're going to see that money stop, the pit stop. And Frank, that's another thing we got to decide. Is he going to stay on the red wall tires, the alternate, or is he going to go to the black primary tires? Right now, the red walls and the black tires, to me, have not meant one iota since we've seen this race at the drop of the green. But that's something that he'll have to determine as they get their way to come in, as he's coming to the pits right now. Money stop time for the leader, Nate Siefker, and I think Butch Davis will follow right behind him.
Yep, Nate Siefker, yep, and there is Butch Davis. To your point there, Wesley, Nate Siefker does have to go to be good with the regulations. He has to go to the prime tire, so he has to come out on a black wall tire here. Davis can go either way. Jake Walsh coming down pit road, he can go either way as well. Chris Walker, a good 16 seconds behind these three. Siefker rolling out. See what happens here Guys, Siefker's on the reds.
Yeah, I don't know. It shows.
So maybe visually we were wrong. It was showing prime. It was showing prime on SDK. So now maybe I'm starting to think that SDK was right. Maybe it's don't believe what you see.
So that sounds a little familiar, Wes. It sounded like somebody said that before.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. Just maybe I was dreaming or something like that.
I could have swore
Nate
I remembered
Siefker,
from Interlagos it was the other way around.
I don't remember. We've seen it both ways.
Don't either.
I'm just happy to
iRacing's
be
weird.
here. I'm just happy to be here. Red tires, black tires, white tires. I don't know. I'm just happy to be here.
Frank and I sitting up in the nice warm booths. There's Wes. We see him over waving at us from the tower over in turn 13. Hi, guys.
Well, for the most part, Nate Siefker definitely did what he needed to do to have a good pit stop. He's back out in P1, coming in as the leader on the money stop. And Chris Walker now moves to second. Butch Davis, though, right there with him. That is a nice battle that is heating up for position as they're working their way down the straightaway, ready to settle in for the final 10 laps at Sebring. And Butch Davis is looking for second. Can he run down the leader, Nate Siefker? Frank, this is the time to get all the push to pass you can without making a mistake to get the win.
Absolutely, and that wasn't going to be much of a fight from Chris Walker as Walker had to come down pit road. He hadn't made his stop yet. So Walker comes down to pit road now. I'm hearing now that Nate Siefker did, in fact, go to the primes that last stint. So he's back on the options now. So first and second are on the option tire. Walker coming down pit road. We'll see what he's just stopped in his box. Lyle Swearingen comes down pit road. Jake Walsh is back on the option tire as well as we head through the second sector.
And as this is all going on, Butch Davis, Frank, has burned now. He's on his third push to pass. He's going to set fast lap on these red tires while they're at their prime. Put down the fastest, his personal fastest sector 1, the race fastest sector 2. And it'll be interesting to see as he's coming into turn 13 right now what's going on. But Frank, one thing else I want to mention. Chris Walker has jumped Jake Walsh for third place.
Yeah, that's about 40 to 47 seconds back to the leaders. This is all for third. So bottom line, Frank Marchesny, it is going to be Nate Siefker and Butch Davis. The question is, Butch Davis, 7.55 seconds back, under 8 seconds. Can he run down Nate Siefker to pull an upset win here at Sebring? They're right now on the straightaway heading to turn 17.
I think Butch Davis's main focus for this lap was to take the bonus point from fastest lap away. He used all 5 of his push to passes on this lap, so he is done as far as the go fast button now. Did get the fastest lap by quite a margin, a 1:41.62 for the 43 on this lap. Chris Walker has just used his first push to pass. Jake Walsh now 6.5 seconds in fourth, as this is going to be a very good day for Voodoo Racing to come home with 2 spots on the podium.
Absolutely, Frank. The guys at Voodoo of Walker and Siefker really enjoying their time right now, and that was a beautiful move by Chris Walker. I think, now that I look at it, Frank, Jake Walsh, I think, had a penalty because he spent over a minute total pit lane time, 32, almost 33 seconds in his box. Jake Walsh had to have had a penalty on that money stop. And while all this is going on, we'll mention the money stop, Frank, hosted by our buddies Dave and Tony, is a podcast put on by Sim Racing Media. So if y'all are looking for something fun to listen to, go take a listen to them. I bring it up only because we don't talk about them too much, but they do a great job. But up front, as these guys are going down the backstretch, heading into turn 13, Wes, we see this big gap between Davis, Siefker, and then especially back to Walker. You know, let's see. What are your thoughts right now throughout this race, Wes?
We need a caution flag. That's my thoughts. I need to fall off the tower is what needs to happen. Or the flagman, Marty, needs to fall out of the flag stand or drop a flag. No, there's not going to be any caution flags in this race. Honestly, it's down to mono y swine. Mono y mono, like John Girard or Ricky Bobby. Here you go. Siefker and Davis. It is those two drivers to decide the win. Right now, Siefker is winning the battle and trying to win the war at the finish. Butch Davis, though, if there's anything he's got, he better show it now. Time is running out as we're in single digits here at Sebring.
Yep, absolutely. As there is Nate Siefker currently out in front here. Everyone pretty well spread out at the moment. Nate Siefker leading by 7.5 seconds over Butch Davis. Butch Davis has 33.7 seconds on Chris Walker. Jake Walsh, who did have a speeding penalty on pit road, falls behind Chris Walker by 7 seconds. He is 19.5 seconds ahead of Lyle Swearingen. Swearingen has 15 seconds. Dale Weiser, pardon me. Weiser has 15 seconds on Dan Brazington, who is not that far away right now from being lapped.
No, he's not, Frank. He's got the leaders pretty close behind him right now as we see them both down on the backstretch. If you're looking at the camera on them, you see Brazington, or you see Siefker hounding Brazington, getting closer and closer. As of right now, on that last lap, Frank, I'll let everybody know, Siefker used 2 of his 3 push-to-passes, and he has not beaten the time of Butch Davis of a 141.62 right now. So Siefker's fastest is a 142.09. Using 2 push-to-pass on that lap, he was still not able to beat Butch Davis's time. Butch Davis looks like he's in the prime position right now to gain that fastest lap bonus point.
Absolutely, as we see Siefker heading through turn 5. This kink here is technically labeled as turn 6 around this racetrack, into the heavy braking zone of turn 7 as we'll ride on board here with Nate Siefker for a little bit. Very hard, very tight braking zone. Turn 8 and 9 here. Sweeper into 10. A nice little flowing left here before you get into a very hard braking zone. A tight right here, followed up by it's a long left that tightens up a little bit as we head to turn 12. Turning while braking, Wesley, not always a good idea, but beautifully done going in through 13.
Yeah, lefts and rights and staying straight and narrow and doing exactly what he needs to do to stay in that P1 spot in car number 1. Nate Siefker still hitting his marks perfectly. The only thing he's looking for now is that white flag and the checkered flag to put this race to bed. 7.6 seconds now, the difference between him and his teammate Butch Davis, who finally pokes his way out of turn 16 down the straightaway as they come to 7 to go this time by.
And looking through this, here's a stat for you. This will be the 19th road course race in Sim Racers Edge history. And if Nate Siefker can hold on to this position, it will be his 13th road course win in his Sim Racers Edge career. He has won 13, if he holds on, has won 13 of the 19 road course races run in this series history. That's not a bad average, Greg.
No, it's not, Frank, but I'm glad you punctuated if. Well, we thought Chad Simpson had 3rd place locked up, but one little mistake, overdriving the corner a hair, just too much, took him out of this race. We know we're kind of giving this to Siefker at the moment, but with 6 laps to go and 17 turns a lap, Wes, there's still a long time left in this race.
Yeah, there certainly is, and we saw that pass there between Walker and Walsh, and Chris Walker doing what he needs to do to go to the podium at least in this race. But again, he's 43 seconds back to the leader. It's Siefker and Davis, 8 seconds now. It's losing ground. Davis is on his teammate, Nate Siefker, looking to also go back-to-back with another win, obviously, Frank, because he won before Happy Turkey Murder Day last Thursday at Milwaukee Mile.
There are two Voodoo Racing team cars in the top podium positions. However, Butch Davis is not one of those. He's a part of the championship-leading FBR Motorsports.
My apologies.
You're good. Siefker and Walker, the two Voodoo Racing drivers. As we see Walker, I don't think enough has been said about Chris Walker. If you guys remember all the way back to season 1, Walker had a major issue that kept him out of the car for the remainder of the season. And I believe into the start of season 2, he has not been himself really ever since that accident. And now starting, he's really shown his muscle though, Greg, on the road courses. I know you weren't broadcasting way back then, but there has been a little bit of a difference in the way he has driven since then. But boy, he really shines on the road courses just as he did before.
He has, and he's, like you said, he's really starting to come into his own right now on these, not just the road courses, but even on the ovals as we've got 5 laps to go. And Walker has kept himself there. He's kept himself in podium contention for a lot of these races. It's just been little minor things that have either taken him out of contention or have kind of shuffled him back a few spots, either by pit strategy or maybe just the wrong tire compound at the wrong time. But Walker's been there. He's been up towards the front. He's been a contender. We talk about him a good chunk of these races, Wes. I know you've only been in to help us broadcast a few of these, but he's really kind of showing what he can do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I done that Indy 500 race back during the spring of this year, and of course, I'm going to finish you guys out for the rest of the year for at least the next 7 or 8 races on the schedule. But yeah, every time that I've seen Chris Walker be in this event, he has always been competitive. He's always been able to save his car, save his equipment to be there at the end. And look, the damage is done. Siefker and Davis, who, by the way, are not teammates. Thank you, Frank. They are in their own world right now, but you got to give mad props to Chris Walker. Going to have himself a podium here, and that's also going to help you with points as we move into the final 5 races of the season.
And speaking of those points, Chris Walker currently finds himself in the... Sorry, I thought I had it up. I didn't. Chris Walker finds himself 17th in points coming into this race, and with a bunch of guys that he is behind not here, he has a very good chance at jumping up as high as about 12th in points here after this race, as we see Nate Siefker about to put a lap, or try to put a lap here on Dan Brazington, as Brazington will get out of the way. 4 laps to go here at Sebring. Again, just 2 races remain on this calendar season. Las Vegas next week, and then the season finale here for Sim Racers Edge Season 5. Guys, I can't believe it's already almost over. It has gone by so quick. Season finale for Season 5 will be at Pocono Raceway. 2 very fun races still are on the schedule here, Greg.
Absolutely, Frank. And sadly, I have to miss Las Vegas. I've got a prior commitment for my brother-in-law's wedding, actually. So I will not be here for that. But as of right now, our good buddy Dave Regal will be joining us back in the booth, joining you back in the booth, I should say, Frank, filling in for me on comm. So I know he's looking forward to that race. He'll be here in his blazer, so don't you worry. He'll be dressed to the nines, ready to go. But yeah, I'll be back for Pocono. I can't believe how fast the season's gone. It's been incredible. It's been such a fun season. I love watching these Indy cars. I race them from time to time. They are a handful to drive, and this season has shown how skillful all of these drivers are, taking these cars to tracks that I would not even want to consider taking one of these high-speed demons to. And they go out there and they race it like I can't even explain it, Frank. They race them so effortlessly. It's incredible.
You know, Frank and Greg, I follow the same sentiments, guys. You know, it's been awesome to be able to join you guys for at least the last 5 races of the season. I know it's coming down to the penultimate race at Vegas next week, and then, of course, the championship at Pocono. But, yeah, man, I do a lot of iRacing broadcasts on top of my real broadcast schedule, and normally I get to do, like, trucks or, ARCA cars or the NASCAR Cup machines or something like that of that caliber. But to be able to do the Indy cars, I've always been a fan of open wheel racing. I love these machines. They're very mystic missiles. They're novelties. If you ever get a chance in real life to go check out an Indy car event, I encourage you to go do it, whether it is at St. Petersburg or Vegas, or going to, of course, Indianapolis for the greatest spectacle in racing. They're fun, they're exciting, and one thing I've also will say, Frank, is being able to go to Indianapolis Motor Speedway and going through the gasoline alley, you are more easier and approachable to grab words or interviews or autographs or pictures with IndyCar drivers in this genre than you can with NASCAR competitors.
I've been threatening to go to Long Beach for the last couple of years, and I might have to do that this upcoming season as we see Nate Siefker working with 2 laps to go here. Well, really about a lap and a half at this point, looking to notch up his 4th consecutive win here on the trot as, again, Vegas next week, Pocono the week after that. Dave Regal will return next week. It'll be our first broadcast together and his first broadcast with the series since I had to take my 3 weeks off because of real life work back at Charlotte for round number 5 of the season. Dave was...
Yeah, Dave's cool.
Yeah, he was all excited he was already excited to go here for tonight, and then unfortunately Greg had to let him down earlier and say, no, it's next week, buddy. Don't worry.
He already said he pulled his jacket out. It was already getting steamed clean. I told him, I was like, no, buddy, you're off a week. I'm sorry. As we see the white flag in the air, Frank, Nate Siefker gets ahead of Dale Weiser. That leaves only the top 5 drivers on the lead lap here at Sebring. Nate Siefker has been picking these laps up and laying them down here tonight as they go into turns 3 and 4.
Yep. As we see, again, as you said, Weiser getting put a lap down. Butch Davis will fall 7.5 seconds short, at least for the moment. He's a good 40 seconds ahead of Chris Walker, though, Wesley, as we head into the this winding middle sector here.
Yeah, it's down to the end of this part of the race now. Nate Siefker doing exactly what he needed to do, be here at the end. Don't know how many more push-to-passes he's got left. He could use them all right now. It doesn't matter. The interval is under 8 seconds to Butch Davis. Chris Walker on the podium in 3rd, 46 seconds back. Siefker is just doing exactly what he needs to do. Hit his marks, make the lefts, make the rights, make the corners, not try to overdrive the race car in any shape or form. It is his race to lose, as right now he settles himself into these final turns looking for that checkered flag and a 4th straight win for the Sim Racers Edge IndyCar Series. He's coming to you for the final time out of turn number 16, Frank Marchesny.
Yep, down onto the runway as Dan Brazington has a bit of a moment behind him, but it is no consequence to Nate Siefker. 3 straight wins to round out the month of November, and here on December 1, number 1 heads to victory lane for the 4th consecutive race. Nate Siefker wins here at Sebring.
Siefker did a great job winning that race. Butch Davis now getting ready to come across the line after a hard-fought race, comes home in 2nd place here tonight. And as these guys go and finish out their little celebration, Chris Walker getting ready to come down into turn 16 right now, going down the straightaway here, Wes.
Yeah, Chris Walker in that number 3 position down the straightaway, now finally passing me for the final time. He will settle for a podium. A good opportunity to climb up the proverbial points ladder, especially with 2 races to go. As Frank, he now comes to the line. Your top 3 is set off turn 17.
Yep, just a little bit of a distance to go here for Walker. Did a great job of just keeping the car on the circuit. And for most road course races, that's all you need to do. Jake Walsh rounding through the final corner. He was third for a while. Unfortunately, a little too hot on entry before he was able to get the limiter on. Will come home fourth. Lyle Swearingen now making his way through the final corner. He will be the last driver to set a result here tonight. Swearingen locks his way into the 5th position as we work on getting these guys in for their post-race interviews. Hopefully we'll be able to keep them in full this time, as I believe we are going to bring in Nate Siefker right now as he continues on his cool-down lap. Greg, you are with our race winner.
Nate Siefker, Greg McConey up in the booth, man. You win again on another road course. Tell us about your race. And Nate's not here.
Yeah, no, he dropped out. He was here. I had him there for a moment, and unfortunately, it looks as though he. I think you scared him off, Greg. I'm sorry.
Aww. Well.
So I guess with that, we'll go from back to front. Greg, we'll try it again. Your third place finisher, Chris Walker, coming in now.
Chris Walker, Greg McConey up in the SRM booth, man. How you doing?
I'm doing really good, man. How about you, Greg?
I'm doing fantastic. You had a heck of a race tonight, man. You come home in third here at a very difficult track that is Sebring. Tell us about your race.
Well, the race was pretty good. I mean, I didn't have too many people around me after a little bit. The start went really well. I was kind of holding my own for a little bit, and I kind of bobbled and lost a spot to Chad, and then Jake got by me, and then I was just deciding to kind of save my tires through that rest of the stint, and then they just kept walking away, and then my second stint on reds, I saved some fuel. And the third stint, I saved a little bit towards the beginning, and then I was full bore after that, and didn't even really look at my relative, didn't really look at the standings until after the last stop, and I saw that I had gapped Jake somehow. I leapfrogged over him. I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, we saw that. We kind of talked about it a little bit. We think Jake either had a speeding penalty or a pit entry issue. He definitely got held up in his pit stall during that stop, but you timed that money stop perfectly. You know, we heard coming into this race that some drivers were saying there was a significant difference between the alternate and the primary tire. Was that something you guys were seeing here tonight?
Yeah, it was. I think it was different for some people. I felt that the primary tire was obviously slower, but it was a little bit more consistent in the long run. I mean, I was a lot more predictable. The reds you could push, and they'd fall off pretty well. So you'd kind of have to manage that a little bit. I thought I managed my last stint as good as I could with a little bit lighter fuel load.
Absolutely, man. Well, you had a great place. Third place tonight. Congratulations again. Who do you have to thank for this fantastic race?
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out and spending their Thursday nights with us. All the drivers that come out. I want to thank my teammates at Voodoo Racing. Nate Siefker, congratulations on a win. Mike Grandy, I'm not sure where he's at tonight. He couldn't be with us. And Joe Bricky. I'd like to thank our league sponsors, SimMotion and Virtual Racing School as well.
Well, Chris, congratulations again. Good luck next week at Las Vegas, man. We'll see you there.
Thank you very much.
All right, and with that will now bring our second place finisher in here, Butch Davis. Wesley Outland is with you now.
A solid run for Butch Davis in the 43. At one time, led in the early going, then kind of fell back. Was it the tires? Was it using up push to pass, or was Nate Siefker just a stronger driver to win this race again for his fourth win in a row, Butch? But a good solid podium for second.
The gloves were off, as you guys saw at the beginning of this race. And, got around Nate when he had that little mistake, and then it was just kind of battling from there. But when we got side by side, we made contact a couple times. And, it's just hard racing, me and Nate are going to race hard. And when you race hard, contact's going to happen sometimes. But had a little bit of damage. I elected not to do the optional repairs in the pit stop and just roll with it. And just kind of hope that maybe he had damage as well and it evened out. But Nate's an absolute beast on these road courses. And even to be able just to, fight with him for those first, through that first stint was, I'll pat myself on the back for that one for a change. I don't normally do that, but I'll take second though.
You did mention that you guys were, right there battling side by side. There was contact made. Do you think that it might have been a little too much contact in the early going? Maybe you could have saved it to the end, or do you feel like that was just the product of what the race turned out to be when the position happened?
Nah, because, especially from my perspective, Nate has a habit of getting out front, and once he's out front, he can kind of set sail. And, I screwed up in qualifying and basically gave Nate a tow to take pole position. Dummy me. But kind of just went into that mindset of, that start might be as close as I'm going to get to Nate, so I better attack when I can and, just go at it. I trust Nate to not drive me, dirty or anything like that. We're going to race hard, but nothing dirty. And, we were both pushing hard. I know he got squirrely a couple times and we kind of made some contact and he thinks he might have had a little bit of damage. I definitely know I did. My optional popped up and like I said, I skipped it. But I think especially at the road courses, when you have that opportunity, you got to take it. You can't sit back and wait for later because later may not come.
Final question. You can segue this into also thanking your sponsors on the 43 for second here tonight at Sebring at the end of 45 laps. Obviously, it's a road course, 17 turns, almost 4 miles. You're not going to see a caution flag. You're getting ready for Vegas for the penultimate race of the season next week, and then Pocono for the championship finale. Are you excited and ready to get back to the not the oval tracks and not be on the road courses? And do you think that there's a strategy to put yourself back into a championship hunt?
Yeah, I mean, tonight, unfortunately for Chad, my teammate, he caught a curb and it did not end well for him. This is going to be a very, very bad points night for him. I already had a 14-point lead coming into this race. So this is going to knock him down quite a bit. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to jinx myself. I threw the championship away last year. Several mistakes on my own behalf cost me that title. And I am just really determined not to do that again this year or this season. So, I still want to go out. I'm going to race hard. I'm going to race for wins. But that little guy in the back of my mind telling me, hey, there's a championship too, buddy. So, I just don't want to throw that away. Want to thank SimMotion and, Virtual Racing School for coming on board with us this season. Thank all the drivers that come out and make this league what it is. We know we start to get into the holiday area and some of the drivers drop out, but even those guys that didn't show up tonight, thank those guys for their support. Thank you guys up in the booth at SRM and all my teammates at FBR Motorsports. Shout out to Larry and Neil that, aren't racing with us, but still members. Roulette also missed out tonight. And just, hey, everybody, we'll go get them next week at Vegas.
Butch Davis on a run for championship. Another solid podium finish here tonight at Sebring. He'll finish in the number 2 position in the number 43. Frank Marchesi is in victory lane now with the winner of 4 wins in a row, Nate Siefker in the 1 car.
Actually, I'm going to have to step aside there for that. So Greg actually will be taking the winner interview with Nate.
Nate Siefker, Greg McConey up in the SRM booth, man. How you doing?
Doing good.
We tried to catch you before while you were out on your victory lap, but something happened. You dropped out on us. But Congratulations, man. Another road course, another victory here. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. That first stint, being right there with, Butch. I mean, that's pretty awesome to be battling away there. I tried to get him here, and then, like lap one, I screwed up. I totally overshot whatever corner that was, and it just didn't, the car didn't act the way I thought it would. So then it was just a matter of, okay, we got to figure out where we can make the move, and it seemed like I was a little stronger in the first sector, compared to him by the looks of things. So we just had to start setting them up. We went side by side basically for that entire lap there, and then we went on the second stint, and I knew I just had to go make a move stick pretty quick. So we made the move, and then kind of just checked out. Had to feel safe in the third stint, and then the fourth stint was just about managing the reds. I didn't want to go to the blacks just in case if Butch really fired off really well on those, and I had something happen to me. So yeah, pretty good race overall.
Yeah, we talked before, and we heard Chris Walker's input. Want to get yours as well. The difference between the black and the reds, we heard coming into tonight, a lot of guys were saying there was a major difference, but to me, it seemed like things kind of evened out in the long run. Was that the case that you were feeling, or no?
Yeah, at lap one, it was a clear red tire advantage, no doubt about that. But the run went on. The black tire, I felt pretty confident and consistent with. Hindsight 2020, I would have just gone with the blacks that last stint because it was a really good tire. So that's a lesson learned for that, I suppose. But yeah, we just had to plug away there. But the reds were definitely, to me, I thought a slightly better race tire in terms of battling with people. In the blacks, you really couldn't, get that acceleration off, which you need here. So the red was a little bit better in that retrospect. But overall, I thought both tires raced really well.
Well, Nate, you had your first time here at Sebring. You are the first SRE winner here at Sebring. Once again, showing your dominance on a road course. Who do you have to thank for your performance here tonight?
Thank you guys, of course, for being up in the booth. You guys do an incredible job up there calling the race. I want to thank every guy and gal that came out here. Well, there's no gals here tonight, but I thank everybody that came out here tonight. I know Sebring's not everyone's favorite. It's a tricky track, but thank you to everyone who came out. Thank our admin guys that we have. I know they did a fantastic job every week. They killed it again. We got 2 more weeks that we got to smash out here. It should be pretty fun there. And then, of course, I want to thank Chris for being his podium. Killed it tonight. Did a great job. Bounced a lot of info off of him all night long. So he did a great job. And then I want to thank my main sponsor, of course, Midwest Kidney Warriors, for all the support towards me. They advocate to finding living donors for those currently needing a life-saving transplant, and also mentor those currently on dialysis. So their website, of course, is the MidwestKillerKnee-Warriors.com for info on how to donate.
Well, Nate, congratulations again on your win here at Sebring. Next week, you guys head to Las Vegas. Good luck. Hopefully the chips roll in your favor. My friend, good luck, and we will see you then.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
And that will pretty much wrap up the show here for us tonight. And Greg, we'll start with you first. Just race almost went how you would have expected it to go, but that first stint, that battle for the race lead was great. And then the second stint, we had that battle for third. So we did have racing here tonight on this massive track, even with a small group.
We did, and like you said, it was a little smaller group. 15 registered for the session, 13 took the green flag. But Frank, that was so much fun seeing these drivers that know how to wheel these cars so well on such a tight, worn-out racetrack where they were. You don't typically see it at a road course, and we heard Butch Davis say it. It was fun for them to go out and have a little beating and banging. Davis and Siefker enjoyed that fight that they had. And most times you go to a road course, you get about 2 laps in. Pretty much that's about it, aside from maybe 1 or 2 little battles. We saw battles lasting 5, 6, 7 laps. The battle that we had between Simpson and Walker or Walsh lasted almost a full fuel run of 12 laps. It was fantastic racing all night long from the drop of the green flag. We didn't need a yellow to bring some excitement. These guys brought it themselves. And how they entered the track tonight, how they took the green flag and they raced themselves all the way through these 45 laps to the end. It was a great race all night long. I loved it.
You'd mentioned an old surface, Greg, that there's rumors that coming up for this update coming up in the next 2 weeks or so, there's going to be a rescan for Sebring that's going to be coming on to the service. That's just a rumor, not confirmed or anything like that. But from what we've heard, that is in the cards, is a rescan of this place. And Wesley, going to you now, Nate has won the last 4 races, 2 road, 2 oval. As I had mentioned during the race, he's now won 13 of the 19 road course races that have been run in this series over the course of the 5 seasons. No more road courses left to go. He's clawed back so much. What do you think, to use the Vegas line, what do you think his odds are that coming back and possibly trying to take this championship away from Butch Davis?
Well, Butch Davis is doing what he needs to do to be consistency, and that's the word I think that I can use to close out what Butch Davis is trying to do to lock up a championship. As he's mentioned so many times, he's been so close and something happens. No, he didn't win the race, but that's the battle. To win the war, which is the championship, which is overall what Butch Davis is looking to grab, you got to be consistent. Butch Davis did that tonight. Now, for Nate Siefker, he just got to continue to be on his winning ways. Whether it's road courses, whether it's ovals, you're seeing what the number one's doing. He is literally the bullseye on his chest going in to the final 2 races of the season next week at Vegas, and then the finale at Pocono. And what 2 unique, differently racetracks you can have to set the scenario of who's going to win the championship. It should be fun. It should be exciting. And, Frank, I think we're going to see some great racing here to close out the season, no doubt.
Absolutely. We can't bury the lead on the hit that Chad Simpson would have taken here today with his DNF. Looking through right now, he lost 10 points on Butch Davis, helped with the smaller field, but Butch Davis now leading by 24 points going into the final 2 races of the season. Nate Siefker has a large hill to climb, still 57 points back, but it is still mathematically possible that he can. And by the way, Nate Siefker and Wesley, you spoke to Butch Davis's consistency. Butch has not finished off of the podium since round 3 at Richmond. He finished 15th at Richmond, finished 5th at Kentucky. Before that, he's been on the podium for every single race of the season minus those 2. So that is the consistency that Butch Davis has shown this season. So right now we will go to the results here for tonight's race. Nate Siefker collecting his 4th win in a row, 5th overall on the season, making him the winningest driver on the season once again this year. Butch Davis, Chris Walker rounding out your podium positions, Jake Walsh, Lyle Swearingen rounding out the top 5, and the drivers to finish on the podium, and the drivers to finish on the lead lap, I should say. Dale Weiser, Dan Brazington, Dan Inch, Mark McFadden, and Chad Simpson rounding out the top 10. Kevin O'Brien, Chris Samard, and Ronnie Osmer rounding out the drivers that started this race. Connor Nixon and Jeffrey Bogan did not start the event here tonight, and will finish 14th and 15th respectively. So that will do it for us here tonight with my broadcast partners, Greg McConey and Wesley Outland. I am Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for making us a part of your evening. We will see you in Las Vegas next week here for the penultimate round of the Sim Racers Edge Season 5. Good night, everybody.